So welcome at the Bushmaster Camo paint tutorial. First time my camera malfunctioned, so you can see this is the end result which we are going for. It's a pencott greenzone camo paint. So I will paint this side again, and I'm also going to paint one of my carbon handguards. So what you get in the package are 6 of these colors. They're water based. So if you get a stain, you can remove it with water. You need some cleaning alcohol or disc brake cleaner, a piece of cloth, and a sponge. So we start with the sponge. Why this? I cut 6 pieces of this, and I like this sponge because it has 2 sides for 2 different structures. So what you do is you cut round pieces of it. Just make sure all the sharp corners are gone. Okay. And then you have to make 6 of these, 1 for each color. So the second part is cleaning your piece with alcohol or disc brake cleaner, something that takes off the fat. Like this, and then I take some sandpaper. This is 240 grit or 120, and just lightly screw it a bit. I tested already a bit on this piece, but that only shows because it's easily to get layer over layer and will just add to the effect. Just some light sanding. Now you're ready to start. So the first thing you do is take off the light brown and you make a base layer. It doesn't have to be perfectly covering it, that's no problem. Just get some base layer on it. Like that, and then also the lower receiver part. So that's your first layer. As you can see, you don't need a lot of paint. I already put too much on it, so this gives it a first layer. So put it back in there, and now we have to wait. It takes about 5 minutes between each layer of drying time. So now the first layer has dried, and I start with the dark green and the dark brown. Don't use too much paint, you can always add later. So I start with green and just make some large parts of your receiver or handguard in the first dark color, green, and later on brown. And brown one. As you can see, the base layer is almost gone. It doesn't matter that you can see it just a little bit. That only will add to the effect later on. So we've got dark green and dark brown parts. And now for the handguard, it's the same. As you can see, we only use only small amounts of paint. And you stamp it on. just make these spots. You can always add layers later on with new color, so no worries. And then also the brown parts on the handguard. Now the handguard is done as well in brown. And now we have to let this dry for 5 minutes. Okay, now the first layer has dried. We're gonna add 2 of the lighter colors, the light brown and the light green. And of course, depending on the field where you play, you can make it greener or browner. Again, only use small pieces of paint. You don't need much. Tap this on. And I do it on the parts where the dark brown meets dark green. There I add some other color. Like that. I do some on the handguard. So I added the brown, and you can see how the disruptive pattern is starting to emerge. And again, if you don't like a part, just let the paint dry and then you can get over it with another color. So that was brown. Now do the light green. And just a little drop for the handguard. Receiver, I mean. Like this. Okay, and we have to let that dry again for 5 minutes. So now the last 2 colors. First the very bright green. You only need a little bit, and here I cut one of the pieces in 2. Make sure it's still a bit round. You see, and I use this side and just give a few marks on there. And when you add this light color onto dark, it gives that 3D effect. That's enough. And last, again, the light beige that we use for the base layer. Because as you can see here, we've got it's difficult to see in the light with wet paint, but all the colors, but we need that light beige color also a bit in the pattern. Just like that. And let the paint dry some more. And also do this for the, here's the green one, for the handguard. So this light green really pops out. And if it's too much, just let it dry and go back to one of the other colors and just again lightly go over it until you're completely happy with it. So like that. And just finish with a little bit of the base one, also on the handguard. And usually again between two different colors I like to break up the pattern. So. I see that the camera exaggerates the light parts, but in real life they are not so popping off as on the camera here. But again, if you think it's too light, just go back to, I will show you a darker color, just a teeny bit, and when you go over it, you see you can just add more layers and make it less bright. Well, there you have it, two painted parts. I think you can easily paint like 2 whole replicas with it, and a silencer and a scope, maybe more even. Let this dry for like 24 hours to be sure, and then what I like to do is I take a clear varnish, matte, transparent. This is just from the Action, the store in Netherlands and Belgium. And when after 24 hours you just give it 2 or 3 layers of this, and that will give a protective clear coat for your paint job.